All right, thank you for staying, David. Let's start that discussion right now. My guests one more time, Honorable Yusuf Hassan, Member of Parliament for Kamkunji, and Duncan Okach, Advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much for making time. Still waiting for Honorable Joanna Ngeno, MP for Murwa Dikir, and Honorable Dan Manzo, Senator for Makueni. When they come in, we'll just rope them into the discussion. But let's start off with the front pages. We can see on both Daily Nation and Standard, e-citizen school fees blow for Defiant Ruto. States e-citizen school fees blow as well. The High Court has suspended the Education Ministry's directive that fees for national schools and other levies like university cafeteria charges be paid through the e-citizen platform. On a day, President Ruto defended payments to one government pay bill number. It adds to controversial state policies halted through public interest suits. Honorable Yusuf, I'll start with you on this. Was this the right directive?
Yes, I think so, because we are trying to move on to create a more efficient, more convenient, seamless and easy method for every one of us, and to create more accountability, cut costs in terms of, because this is a seamless electronic digital system, improve the accuracy of the funds that come into government, and close on wastage, leakages, and corrupt activities. So I think this is the way to go, and this is the best way we should be doing. Of course, there are teething problems whenever you introduce something, and there are people who might feel that, in fact, they may not be able to do that because of various reasons. But those are administrative issues that can be sorted out when the system is in place. But it is absolutely correct that we should be moving all our accounts to a central point where it can be looked after much better than it is done now, and in particular to cartels, middle persons. For example, in my constituency, the parent is forced to pay a lot of illegal payments in the thousands. It's not only 100 shillings or 200 shillings. Every school charges the parent 1,000 shilling in that, 1,000 shilling in this, and when you calculate that amount, it is a very heavy burden on the parent. For my neighborhood, the e-citizen payment is the best system that any government could have introduced. Yeah. And I think I don't see any reason, unless you're really a crooked person or someone who was abusing that system as a principal or as a head teacher, why you should be worried about the electronic digital payment of school fees.
There are some who are worried, and I'll start with the parents before I come to the teachers. The teachers who worry, number one, is that the disbursement of the school fees to the different institutions takes some time. Therefore, they might grind to a halt as the red tape continues. That's on the teacher's side. On the parent side, they say it's not been thought through properly because some of them don't actually try to pay in cash. They can sometimes come and pay in kind. Some of them offer sacks of maize. Some of them offer sacks of beans. Some of them even bring firewood. How do you account for that?
No, but I think that is a very weak argument, in the sense that because you cannot, every parent doesn't pay fees in kind. Chicken or butter trade. We are a state that is modernizing. We're a country that is modernizing. Everybody is an M-Pesa. There is no adult Kenyan who does not have an M-Pesa. So this argument that, in fact, a parent will not be able to do because of this or that is a very weak argument. In any case...
You don't think there are parents who pay in kind?
They are. But they should...
How do you capture them on?
No, but we have a market, a free market system. You can convert your maize or whatever into cash, put it on M-Pesa, and pay the school fees, rather than lining up and going to school, wasting a lot of time. The convenience. Why would you want to go to a school 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers when you can use your M-Pesa or your digital, your phone to be able to perform those? And those are teething problems that can be resolved through administrative action. But for me, I don't see any rational reason. And
for the teachers who say that the disbursement of this money sometimes takes long?
Well, that is a factor that the Ministry of that is a factor that the Ministry of Education must sort out. It is their responsibility. They should be able to disburse that money as quickly as possible. And if there are delays, of course, it will bring our schools to a halt. that should not happen at all. And I think that fear is a temporary fear, because once the machinery begins to work efficiently, there's absolutely no reason why the school should not get its money as rule. So I think this argument is irrational. It is a backward step, and I think it's not a blow to Ruto. It's a blow to the efficiency and effectiveness of our governing and system and how we function as a country. And for someone to just go to court just because they feel that this system is not good is not in the best interest of us, our country. And the president is not going to suffer. He's sitting in State House doing his own business. It is the parent and the teachers and the students who would suffer.
Honorable Manzo is now joining us. And Honorable Manzo, you just walked in when we were just starting this discussion on the state's e-citizen school fees blow, and thinking, was this a good move in itself? The idea of paying the e-citizen platform?
Yeah, it is not practical at all. You see, unfortunately, I'm surprised that my colleague here has forgotten where he has come from. But maybe mostly because he represents people in the city, he may not be knowing what is happening in the rural areas. But this is the same fate which has befallen Ruto's government and his team. The government seems to be running on an ad hoc basis. Almost on everything is trial and error. First of all, if this e-citizen was very effective, there will be disbursing. The money is allocated to schools from government very effectively. And that money never gets to schools. It's never accounted for year after year. And there's a crisis in schools. Most schools are like, parastatals. Every school, in fact, is like a small parastatal. And it has a board of management, it has a head teacher, it has a way of accounting its systems. So if you put everybody into this e-system, first of all, the systems don't even work. Even most of the e-things which have been launched, even for trading in markets, within 2 days the network is disappeared. And you are relying on platforms you don't have a total control of. So some schools are huge, others are small, some have capacity, majority don't have capacity at all. And therefore, the best thing is, first of all, there was no even proper public consultation on this. I can assure you, the president and even the members of parliament and senators are not the most brilliant people you have in the country. And that's why there's public participation. There are so many experts and brilliant people out there. It's only that they have not run for office. They want to serve from the other side. And therefore, if you do proper public participation, then you would have gotten a proper feedback from many, many brilliant young people and even older people in the country, and would have known the best way to run this. So to me, I agree with the courts completely. And by the time people or organizations go to court, they have done their research very well. They are brilliant lawyers. The judges are brilliant. And so long as there is a case, show where the constitution has been breached, the law has not been followed. This matter has not even been in parliament. So if it has not been in parliament, how is the government implementing it?
But there's an argument. Go ahead. Go ahead first, then I'll give you the...
And even when it came to Parliament, what is happening with the Parliament nowadays, things are rushed through. There's no proper... One of the biggest problems with most of the laws in the country right now is lack of public participation. And a lot of times, even when you have public participation, it is cosmetic public participation, whereby, people are told, give us feedback. It's never adopted anywhere. And at the same time, the law is rushed through Parliament. And that's why the courts have a very big role to play now, to make sure that every step is followed, the Constitution is followed, the laws are followed. So this is bound to fail. And when you don't do public participation, then the people don't support you. If I were a parent in a rural setup, I would still pay school fees cash. If you pay through this e-citizen thing and even the fee is not picked by the school, your child will still be sent away. Because, if it is not captured anywhere in your systems in the school, even there's no electricity throughout the country. There are no computers throughout the country. Most phones used by most Kenyans are kabambe. So how are you expecting someone to send money through a kabambe and even get a feedback? So there must be proper consultation. Kenyans should not be rushed through chaos. These are cartels. What is happening is the government is supposed to pick part of your money out of this. There's a charge. So these are just ad hoc cartels who want to loot Kenyans through this with the blessing of the president. It is a looting government.
But actually, the government is arguing that this will stop those same cartels because there are principals who are charging parents unnecessarily fees that are not even required.
There is a better way of improving this. Every school has a board of management, and if any principal is conducting any corruption, it can easily be exposed. Every penny is accounted to the parents. Even if you use this system, how will you then release this money to a respective school?
Okay.
We are going to create more chaos than we are trying to sort out.
I see Yusuf disagreeing, but let me bring in Okach first and hear you.
No, he left the village a long time ago. He operates here in the city. So I understand him very well.
Okay. Okach, was this directive well thought through? Or is the intention at least good?
The intention, Trevor, is actually good. And I agree with Mheshimiwa Yusuf 100% on it. Because the reasons were stated properly. And indeed, it will actually help even those poor parents from upcountry, from Makueni, where Senator Manzo represents, to ensure that these endemic complaints of being overcharged, of money being paid under the table will actually end. Because that makes education expensive. And you have heard none other than the parents saying that there's nothing free in free education, because at the end of the day, we are still asked to pay ABCD. And it's something that comes out every year, every school opening season. However, despite the fact that it is, the intentions are good, in terms of the law, in terms of the constitutional architecture and dispensation, that cannot override the express provisions of the Constitution. The Constitution is very clear on certain aspects, and key among them is public participation. You might want to have the best idea, but if it contravenes the constitutional provisions, especially on public participation, then automatically the court's hands are tied. They have no choice. The question that, of course, and it's not a question, it's outrightly out there, and the Honorable Yusuf, I don't think will argue with that. Yeah. There was no public participation at any level. And you know, I think that's why Senator says, the government seems to always be doing, a trial and error, what my friend Willie Sotieno always calls picky ponky, because, and they don't learn. If you look at what has happened and the outrage by the president, is because those acts, which were bills and then later on became acts, did not undergo public participation, like the housing levy issue. Now, they're actually doing that. They're actually doing public participation after the courts have spoken. So it will be important for all these other good ideas to adhere to the law so that you don't waste time, bring this particular process, and that's it. Okay. More importantly, it did not even go through Parliament. This was a directive that came from the Principal Secretary. The Principal Secretary does not have those powers to outrightly do that without going to the representatives of the people. That's a big issue. There is an issue about a pilot program. Most of these things, it's important to at least have a pilot program to at least first see. Let the people in Nairobi, where Manzo says they may be more comfortable, let us try it here. Let us first see. Let everyone in Makueni, in Karachoni, and everywhere first appreciate that indeed the people who have had that experience are actually saying it is beneficial. Then any other issues, like the issues that Senator is talking about, like the disbursements. Those disbursements, of course, it is a fact that they are always late. So let there be first a firm commitment by the government that once we start these disbursements will never be late, because you cannot play with education. You cannot do trial and error with education, because the moment you don't disburse, children will not learn, they will lose time, and it will be chaos.
So Yusuf, why put the whole...
Let them address the PESA flow. There's a broker there who's supposed to be brokering between the government and the people who is charging a commission. It is a private company. This is where the cartel is. And that's why they are forcing this through the people's throats.
So Honorable Hassan, why are we putting the cart before the horse? Why not...
The PESA flow company.
Fast.
Who are the owners of that company?
You know, I agree. I agree the points that has been made here about making the system smooth and efficient. Of course, that is absolutely a necessity. But I think someone would have to start somewhere. This e-citizen thing is not new. I don't think it requires any major consultations because it's an administrative action. It is just a means to collect fees that or taxes that you should have paid. It's only the methodology that is changing. It's not the policy that has changed or requires changing. But I must say that maybe I'm a different part of the country because here in Nairobi, and particularly in Kamkunji, the biggest complaint I get from parents is the problem of the pressure they get from the schools, the extortion, the exploitation that is associated with paying school fees. There are many schools where principals and head teachers are abusing the parents, and there is very little accountability on how the money that is collected from the parents that is not included in the government fees structure is used. So I think this would take a big burden from the parents. The parents would save a lot of money. Yeah. They would save a lot of time. They would also be able to know how their money is used because now it is going into a central kitty. And I think what Mheshimiwa Mwanzo is saying, or the way he's speaking, is reverse psychology. It is the cartels who are now fighting back, the cartels who are collecting this money, the corrupt cartels, or thousands and thousands of shillings from parents. Paying 50 shillings is much more easier for a parent than paying 2,000 to 3,000 every term. So it is to the advantage of parents, and I think it is the cartels who are fighting back now to make sure that, in fact, this process of paying money without accountability continues. Now, again, the other point he's saying he comes from a village. There is no village person in his neighborhood, and I know they send him messages to get him to send him pesa every day. In the farthest village in Makueni, he knows that. If they can ask for money from him, to say, Mheshimiwa, leta pesa ya funeral, leta pesa ya hospitali, why can't that parent not use that same phone to pay money directly to the school? It is convenient, it is cost-effective, it is efficient, it is a very easy method. And we have already embraced digital payments. We are one of the first countries to introduce mobile money in the world. We are a world leader in that sense. And Kenya is a country that is looked upon by other countries as an example of what can be done electronically and digitally. But even then,
are you concerned when the president says that his programs are unstoppable? We know the court has already pronounced itself on this. But it's going to go on anyway. No, but I think the president has a point in the sense that maybe the courts might be overreaching themselves in some of these aspects. Because what is the constitutionality of paying fees digitally? It is purely an administrative process. It is fees that are, in any case, due to be paid. And the only thing that has changed is the methodology. The government is saying instead of paying cash, go to use your gadget to pay these particular fees. What is the business of the courts in going into the day-to-day activities of the government, the functions of the government? It's not a major constitutional or legal issue to go to court to be honest. So the president has a point. Okay. Are we unnecessarily litigious?
No. You know, first of all, there are statutes, there are laws in this country. There's a constitution. Then there's a Public Finance Management Act. Then there's, you know, there was no procurement of these services. You have somebody, this company, which is not procured. Then the 50 shillings charge is not gazetted. So there's a break of law, total anarchy, and that's why the courts are there. You see the three branches of government, there's none which is less than the other. The courts draw their power from the people of Kenya. Many people have forgotten that we have a new constitution. We have, you know, you have a new constitution which gives the people power. Then the people donate this power to the executive, they donate it to the courts, and they donate it to parliament. So now, the executive has gone rogue. The executive is behaving as if this is a conquered state, as if he came here with his troops, conquered, and everybody has to listen to everything he says, like a kingdom, as if there was no constitution. So if you have this system which does not even allow people to compete, there could be other companies which would be better. Why do you allow? We want to know whose company is this, and you'll find it is a cartel company associated with the executive, and that's why they want to collect and loot Kenyans, create confusion, and make it very difficult.
You have evidence of these accusations you're making, right? As a lawyer, you know that you could be sued for that allegation.
Well, I'm ready to be sued. They have already broken the law. You have to declare who the directors are. There are many other companies of e-nature which could be allowed to compete. Why is it single sourcing? So when you break the law, really, I go for you.
Okay. Duncan, as we wind up on this topic.
Yes, I majorly agree, of course.
But are you concerned that the president is saying that this is happening? It's unstoppable.
That's why I'm saying I majorly agree with the first part of what Mheshimiwa said, Yusuf. But whatever he said last is actually very sad, because the rule of law is everything. If there was no rule of law, we will not be calling him the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kamukunji, because it follows what is there in the Constitution, what is there in the Acts, and that is why we are called a republic and a democratic country. The moment the moment any state officer, any person takes office, you take an oath to uphold the constitution of this particular country. So the moment one person does not uphold, and remember there's no one above the law, including the president. So the moment the president does not or flouts the provisions of this constitution, and you support him, you're actually committing, you're actually going against the constitution and your own oath of office. Remember, the constitution is very clear, and that's why Manzo is saying, and it's not a new constitution, let me correct that. We've had it for over 10 years. So at this particular stage, you look at Article 2, there is a supremacy of the constitution, makes it above any other person. There is the duty to defend the constitution by everyone under Article 3. We have Article 23, which gives the courts the exclusive mandate to ensure and authority to uphold and enforce the Bill of Rights. So the moment you are trying to say, even if you say it is litigious, it was envisaged under the Constitution, remember at this point, the courts have not even said that this particular process or directive is unconstitutional. It has only said, wait a minute, before you implement it, let me hear the grievances of Dr. Gakeria. Afterwards, you don't even know whether the court will actually agree with Honorable Yusuf. But the moment you tell you actually tell the court, I don't care, I will proceed whether you agree with me or not, then you actually negate the entire process in terms of the judicial fabric. And the moment you touch that judicial fabric, leaders are actually not seeing this. Countries have gone down by just affecting just a part of the judicial fabric. And the moment where we are, actually it's a very dangerous trend where it is actually now being mutilated.
Yeah.
And it is being supported, and by none other than the president. I can tell you, the only problem we have is that when you have parliamentarians who then do not see the power that they have to even deal with anyone, including a president, who goes against the constitution. That power has been given to parliamentarians, and when they negate it, they actually let all of us down. But if they will say, in this podium and every other place, that anyone who breaches the constitution, who does not respect the rule of law, we will actually use our powers. Yeah. No person can ever dare to stand in any podium and say, Utadu.
Okay. Honorable Yusuf, I'll give you a chance to respond before.
Yes, I think that we should not mix. Nobody is contravening or breaching the Constitution. We would never allow that as a country. I would never allow that as a parliamentarian. But when you have, you know, hundreds of cases, court cases, that impeach on some of the functions of the other two parts of government, you obviously have some concern. But for the president to express himself on issues is part of our democratic process. We have every citizen, including the president, have the right to express themselves in public. The question is, by saying that what he has said he's going to do, is he really doing it? And when it comes to the issue of violating the Constitution, either whether you're a parliamentarian or whether you're president or whether you're in the courts, we'll be up there to deal with it. But simply because people are saying this in public meetings, I don't see any danger to our democracy, to our Bill of Rights, or to our Constitution whatsoever.
When the head of state himself says that he's going to defy a order,
but let's wait. Let's see whether he will defy.
He actually does it.
You don't
No,
it
hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. I mean, these things are said in political forums all the time. Does that mean that he has the power to defy the Constitution? He doesn't. He doesn't have the power to defy the Constitution. That's why a directive that he has made, which is pay school fees through e-citizen, has been stopped by a court of law, which means our checks and balances are working. The president has given a directive. The courts have counter-checked it. And that's it.
So for you, it's a political statement and nothing.
Yes, exactly. I don't know why we would think that our Constitution can be changed by one person. We have gone beyond that.
Okay.
We're much more mature. Our Constitution is very safe. It has got these brilliant lawyers and politicians who are out there screaming all the time. Mwanzo is speaking these things in public on the phone, on television. Some 20 years ago, he would have gone to jail. We have, I was in exile. I wouldn't be able to speak some of the things. So our Constitution and our political system is not that fragile. We're here to look after it. But also we should allow the president, the courts, the parliamentarians to express, and all citizens to express themselves. And not every time when someone opens their mouth and criticizes one aspect of the government. There are some people who are saying Parliament is dead. It's been captured by the state. I don't agree with it. But they have the right to say it, and that doesn't mean that actually Parliament is dead or captive in that sense. It simply means that there are some concerns about it.
Honorable Manzo, that's an interesting approach by Honorable Yusuf, that the Constitution is not under threat. These are just political statements being made in a political forum, but there's nothing to worry about.
The Constitution is totally threatened. In fact, currently, it no longer exists to the mind of the executive. They are not applying a single, article of the Constitution. When you have an executive which has overrun Parliament, whereby, I can testify this anywhere, even in a court of law, whereby most members of Parliament, especially the National Assembly, are bribed to pass the finance bill, which brings chaos into the whole country. I'm sure Honorable Yusuf will not take a bribe, but there are quite a number of people who will either be sent abroad on trips so that you are not there on the voting day, and others who will receive money to vote in a certain way. It also began as soon as there was an election, and this country will be doing very well, and the Constitution will be doing very well. Immediately after the election, the opposition was majority in the National Assembly, with 6 members. If we stay like that, like the case of America, whereby now in Congress the majority are the opposition, are not the ones who have formed the government, and the government is fully checked. But in our case, the small parties were compromised, independents compromised, members compromised. The moment you have that, then there is no one to check the president. There is no one who can impeach the president. It is the only threat the president has, if you can impeach him. Then it goes now to the court orders. He says clearly, we will still go on and implement this e-citizen. We will not follow the court, and there is nothing they will do to us. Then you create anarchy in the country. The people become dissatisfied. And the only other judge left now is the people in the next election. The question is, will there be free and fair election without a free and fair IBC? Then you begin bringing the country into chaos. And the final result of that is that people are likely to revolt.
Let me bring in Okachi really quick.
Yes, Trevor, this is quite important because I think what Honorable Yusuf has said is a total obfuscation of the truth and the realities in the Constitution. One, the Constitution tells us that anyone can approach court, not only when the Constitution has been violated or any violation has already occurred, but even when there's a threat to that violation. So the moment, even by those utterances, that already is an issue. In criminal law, we say there's actus reus, there's mens res. The moment you have conceived it in your mind, that alone is an element, and then you actually actualize. Ideally, he says he's right in terms of Article 135, that decisions of the president are actually supposed to be in writing and, of course, sealed. That is okay. But the requirement of the Constitution and all the provisions that indicate that even in your actions, not only in your speech, even in your actions, you must uphold the Constitution. At this stage, we have this particular process, which, remember, it actually deals with the county aspect and the national aspect. Why? Because education, we have the part that is dealt with the county governments. We have the basic education that is also dealt by the national government. Yeah. Has this particular directive been submitted even to the Senate? Okay. It has not even gone to the National Assembly, leave alone that. So if Waheshimiwas are here, it is their duty to ensure that they also guide this government. They also tell them, you can still achieve the same thing, but in a proper way. You save money and you don't pay lawyers in court. Okay,
let's take a quick break. Now, when we come back, now let's put the shoe on the other foot, on Manzo's foot. IBC clashes panel moves to pick bosses. Now, the court has made its pronouncement on this. The opposition disagrees. Are we going to follow the political truce or the legal directive? That conversation coming up in just a bit. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak.